Okay, hi guys. I'll be with you in just a second. This is Dr. Kelsey, and we're going to talk this morning. Is that what? Yeah, I think it's paranormal. So, get a few things out here. Then I'm going to move this bag and start chatting with you guys here. Okay, I'm here in my office in Columbiana, Alabama, and I'm streaming this live on the YouTube. Welcome. And I'm going to share this later with everybody. But I want to go through, and I don't have all my gadgets, but the paranormal. Why are we so interested? What fascinates us so much with all things paranormal? The afterlife, talking to the dead, all this kind of stuff has really captivated us all through recorded history, even Plato and different ones. I mean, you go back through, and even this season we're in now, the Christmas season, originally was a time for ghost stories, spooky stories. You go back to one of the most popular Christmas stories out there, and you know, was it Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge, and the ghost of Christmas past and Christmas present and Christmas future. Ghost. It was a very popular thing that kind of changed somewhere in our history, but we've always been fascinated and interested in, you know, these big questions. What happens after death? What's going on? So we expend a lot of energy and a lot of time pondering these things, and a lot of people spend a lot of time actually trying to communicate, find some evidence of an afterlife. That's what we're talking about here. This Abnormal Alabama, the Abnormal Church is where I am, and that's what we're streaming from here now. So here's the key. We're interested because it's that not knowing factor. We have this ego, we have this sense of self and self-worth, that to think that this is it, to think that when this life is over, that's it, it's a hard pill for humans to get their arms around. Hold on one second. I will be back. Well, that's good. So you're free for today. Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm recording something for whatever. There's a break from this computer. You are. Alright, we'll get through this and I'll be calling you. Bedroom week. Alright, then, if you left him, maybe we can out with you. Okay. Alright, well, let me finish what I'm doing. I'm going to do press release today, and then I'm going to do it. Okay? Recording tomorrow. Okay, sorry about that, folks, and I will be having to edit that out in post-production at some point. Alright, so all this laid out on this table are items, some that are commonly used for this paranormal investigation stuff, some not so commonly. We're going to talk about this, what these things do. The only thing I don't have, and I couldn't find it quick, and that is the the spirit box radio thing for capturing that. I do have a digital recorder. Just kind of go one through one of this stuff. And again, why are we interested in this? And I want to interject something real quick. Sometime after the 1st of July, we're scheduling an all-day symposium with Dr. Raymond Moody, who actually wrote the book Life After Life, and who actually coined the term near-death experience. So we're going to be doing that with him, and that has something to do with this box here. We're going to be talking about that and what I'm talking about today. I'm going to move the chair to the side, expose more of my table here, and start going through some of this for your benefit here. So, bear with me as I organize and disorganize. I'm also going to show you some of the cameras that I like to use when I go out in the field, what my expectations are, and what goes into all this. And some of this is also related to the Bigfoot thing, even though Bigfoot is more of a physical blood entity from what we understand, and the rest of this is dealing with the afterlife spirit. We're not sure. Some of the basic tools, going back in history, this box here is actually a modern creation based upon one of the earliest forms of trying to communicate with the spirit world. You may have heard of scrying mirrors, and this ties in with Dr. Raymond Moody, who I mentioned a little bit ago. And this is a miniature version of what's called a psychomantium. Now, in the back, in the warehouse part of our building, I'm building out a large psychomantium. And it is a form of a scrying mirror, if you will. This came from old Greece, and what they discovered was man trying to communicate with the dead. He'd have polished stone or perfectly still water to gaze into, and he'd meditate and kind of zone out in that and see things, and some even indicated they would even have communication with otherworldly entities. Dr. Moody took from that and built a psychomantium, which is placing a mirror in a totally dark room, closet, blacked off area, whatever, no light, a chair sitting not directly in front of the mirror but off at an angle so you would not see your own reflection in the mirror. You would spend time before you would enter this psychomantium chamber meditating, thinking about who you wanted to communicate with, if there was a particular individual, whether it was grandma, a late loved one, a brother, sister, whomever may have passed that you want to communicate with. Dr. Moody developed this because he was into a lot of grief counseling, and to give people comfort, whether they actually, what they felt personally about communicating with the dead, it created some kind of comfort. What he discovered was that a lot of people were having these experiences. They would see the individual that they wanted to talk to. They would actually communicate or get a message verbally, audio, from this person who was deceased. So they would think about this. Sometimes if they had a picture, they would hold that picture before they went in the chamber, or a personal item of this individual that had passed, or at least in their mind hold that memory close. And then they would enter the chamber. Right behind them, maybe a little candle or something, just for a tiny bit of ambient light. Not anything bright enough to reflect in the mirror, but just a little tiny bit of ambient light behind the chair they were sitting in. I created this in a, if you will, a mobile version. Say you're in a motel room, or say you don't have room to build out one of these chambers. You could darken your room totally, and then you could have the same effect. Put candles in the candle holder, put it behind the chair you're sitting up, and you would not be able to see your own reflection. All the reflection, it would just show darkness. And then over a period of a few minutes, as you meditate and get more relaxed, then things would start to happen. and that was the whole emphasis of that. There's a lot of material written on that. I encourage you maybe to, in fact, I've got some printed material I'll be sharing at the conference of experiences that people have had. Well, we had a lady that was totally unfamiliar with it. We put her through this here in the office, and she had an entity appear to her. It's called a psychomantium. This is probably, of everything that I've got here, in the form of communicating with the dead, this is probably derived from the oldest methodology that humans used in an effort to speak to that other realm, to the spirit world, the psychomantium. Okay, the next that I have here that we get into that humans used in their efforts was the what we call a spirit board or the Ouija board. And usually more than one person would put their fingers on this pochette. They would first of all ask if they could have permission to communicate, and then they would ask questions. And this pochette, you see that's a clear glass there, so you can see the letter that went over the whole alphabet, yes and no. And so they would ask a question, and this would supposedly move on its own and spell out the answer to the question, commonly known as the Ouija board. We're going to talk more detail about some of this later, but this is the highlight of some of this stuff that commonly used to try to communicate with spirits. These are the oldest forms, and then we got into some high-tech stuff. This is a thermometer, and this, if you know what I'm saying. So that would be 74, you point, and it's going to go up a little bit, pointed toward the computer there and electronics. And so you look for, commonly they would say cold spots, and that would give you an indication that there is something supernatural happening there. I don't know if that's used as commonly now as it used to be, but for a while it was a big thing. EVPs are a very popular thing, and that's kind of tied into the spirit box, which I didn't bring out. The spirit box, the EVP is just a digital recorder that people would use, and they would have it recording, and they would go through and ask questions. Is anyone here with us? If they knew a name of somebody that was killed or supposedly haunting a place, they would ask questions appropriately. If Mary is present, would she care to communicate with us? Is there anything that she would like to say to us? If so, speak into this box. Audibly, you generally would not hear, but on playback, it's amazing what some people get from just doing that. A simple digital recorder, hit record and go through an area, just your voice asking questions and total silence in the area that you're in. Make sure that if anybody's with you that they're not talking, it's just total silence, so you don't confuse a person's voice with a disembodied voice. So you want to be careful the way you approach that. Now, we've gone into an era now. This is what I use. These little devices here come in a lot bigger form, and this is a thermal imaging camera, and I've got videos up on that. I use this. They've come out and they've made so much progress. I use this with an app on my Android phone, and it's amazing. You can record, you can take pictures and record as you go through. This detects temperature, hot spots, cold spots. We used it in a cemetery just a couple of days ago, and you would see, you can use it daytime or nighttime. It's not a detector of light, it's a detector of heat and whatnot. Police use it. If they're going through from a helicopter, they're trying to discover someone that's on the run, they'll use a thermal camera to see the temperature, would give the outline of a person, and that person may be hiding or running through the woods or whatever, and it's very distinguishable on the screen. This works very effectively. This version I got on Amazon. It's called Seek Thermal, S-E-E-K, and for less than 200 bucks, works right with my Android phone, and it also works with my tablet. Let me see if I can get this up just for the sake of demonstration here on this. Everybody's got their own view as to what's actually taking place on any of this. Some people are very skeptical. You can debunk just about anything. If you talk to a legitimate, and not the reality TV stars, because they're in it for another reason, or at least it ended up that way. Maybe they started out at a point to where they were more genuine. But when you have a TV show, it's about ratings. You have got to produce some action. In the real world of these paranormal investigations, a lot of investigation with very few results. So they're always looking for ways to enhance the results. You spend a lot of hours going through and get absolutely nothing in return. And so when you do find something, it's very exciting. So this goes into, it's like a little mini USB. It goes right into your USB port of a Android phone. And it's not the newer version that some of the Samsungs used like that. So we're going to go, here we go. It'll access this, connect the camera, and here we go. So you can focus this in a little bit better. What you see, that dark red, is actually my iPad. So this is what takes place, and it records. If I can take snapshots, or I can make a record in videos I'm making or whatever. Put my hand out there. You see how red my hand is, so you see that outline, and the distance of it's not bad. I've used it in the car, whatever. Be pretty slow thermal camera. Less than $200. A lot of people are spending a lot more money on it than that, for sure. So thermal imaging camera is a popular thing. They use it in Bigfoot hunting, and they use it in paranormal. If you are out in a situation and you think you see a shadow, you can point the thermal camera and you can see if you see shapes or whatever. If you're in the woods, if you're outdoors, Bigfoot or whatever, day or night, and you think you see something, this will give you an outline of like, oh, that's a dog, that's a deer, or whatever, it's a human being, and you can tell. And there's settings on there also. You can get the exact temperature that'll display in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Pretty neat overall. I'm glad that I invested in that. So that'll work with my phone or my Samsung tablet that I've got it on here. Now, these, I haven't seen much use of these. I think that this is a neat tool myself. See that? Let me turn off this light. But this scatter light is what it is. And do you see that? And it goes a super great distance. Of course, we're inside, but this will shine up. I mean, I've back door of my house I've stood, and it'll go across out in the woods and whatnot. And what this does, in the scatter light, you can see movement from far away and the shape of it, almost like the thermal camera, except the scatter light you can see any movement. You can just point it toward the woods or in a room for different things. As you see, you can do that, but it's hard to detect. I'm going to step back behind the camera and you'll see how this expands, and it's still very bright. You see how it lights up that whole wall. If I were outside and it were dark, it would light up an extremely large area. So you could see some movement through there, you know, out there. You could see some movement, and that's what that would be for. So you could start out with this scatter light, which covers a wide area, wider than one person standing there just kind of holding this like so. If they see some movement out there going through, then you could take the thermal camera and you could focus in on that same area and see if you can detect what that movement was about. So anyway, that's what that is, and I keep several of these around. They are a very useful tool for Bigfoot or paranormal. It helps you to identify what you're looking at there. The world of the paranormal, Bigfoot, and so forth is very fascinating. There's no doubt about it. A lot of people will watch these reality shows, and it kind of comes down to, no matter whether you believe it or not, it's entertaining. A lot of these people, I was on a radio show last night with a gentleman that is very serious about his stuff, and a lot of these guys are very, very serious. Got a convention coming up on February the 9th at the castle just down the road from my office, and these guys that are showing up are very serious about what they're doing, make no mistake about it, and they present some good material. They've gotten a lot of evidence, as they call it. Can it be debunked? Well, I haven't examined all their evidence. I've examined a lot of evidence. I find that the majority of it can be debunked. In other words, explained away. When I say debunked, it's like, well, it's not paranormal, it's this or it's that. And that's the case of the majority of it. Now, in my world, when I've gone out to do and actually seek out things paranormal, nothing really profound has happened. The most profound experiences I've had in life is when I've not been looking for the experience. When such a thing was not even on my mind. Now, I tell a story often of something that happened that is otherworldly, is supernatural, it's not normal, and it had nothing to do with ghosts. But there are things that happen that we just don't understand. Is it synchronicity? Is it just happen chance? Or is there something out there? There's so much we don't know. If you had been alive 500 years ago, I guess, and this set up here, you presented what I'm doing to somebody 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, you would have been considered a magician, a god. This was not even fathomable at all. You know, to have a radio and turn on a radio, receive a signal in this little box. You remember the old AM, FM little transistor radios? We would carry those around like even before the Walkman. Going back to the 60s and whatnot, those little radios would have been considered a tool of talking to the dead. And you could have fooled the world with that, because just a short time ago in our history, audio through the air, that was in itself an act of paranormal. That was in itself a supernatural act. So what we know today has taken us to a new level, but we're still searching for that understanding of if there's something else out there. And a lot of what we think we're delving into is not caught up with where we are today. In other words, our knowledge base is different than it was 500 years ago, but we're still grabbing a hold of where they were and trying to defend what they believed back then. And I think that's part of the mistake we're making and when we do this research, because I think that we're not taking, we're identifying something before we have truly investigated it. I use the example of UFOs. UFO means unidentified flying object. Unidentified, meaning realistically and exactly that it's a flying object, you don't know what it is. It's unidentified. But we commonly think of UFO as alien, a gray, a flying saucer, something from another planet, or whatever like that, instead of just unidentified. Just because, now, it's unidentified to me. Maybe the Air Force can identify it. Maybe it's something they're working on. So our understanding of things is bent that way, and the way we express ourselves is bent that way. Even if your belief system is Bible-based, and I think people miss this a lot too. A lot of Christians, and I speak Christianity because the culture I'm in, because that is the major belief system where I am, and that's my background growing up. Communication with the dead. Some are just totally adamantly don't do that. You're bringing in, opening doors that best left closed. You could be, and from a biblical point, you don't know what, even from just a basic rational thought. If you're communicating with something that you can't see, you can't touch it, you're using devices, or you're using your mind to, maybe you're hearing something audible, maybe it's something that moves. You're in a place, somebody told you it's haunted, and somebody got killed here 100 years ago, and you've already set yourself up to believe it a certain way because that's the way it has been told. Something does move. A pillow flies off the couch. Nothing touched it, no one's around it, and it just poof, flies off the couch. So immediately, or there's a shadow. You see something that, and you got to understand that our eyes are trained to recognize these shapes that we're familiar with. The human shape in the dark. You see something that looks like a face, looks like a nose, a little bit of a profile, or whatever. You can see that, and when you were kids, you may lay back with your dad or your best friend looking at the sky and looking at shapes of clouds. And you always identified, oh, look, that cloud looks like a puppy. Oh, there's a giraffe, or, you're just trained that way. So we have to be careful with when we see and hear things. Now, we'll take it another step. You don't know. Let's say it is genuinely, you prove that was a disembodied voice. It's clear, it's on the EVP, there was no other sound out here, it just showed up. I'm just out there recording on my camera, doing some paranormal stuff, research, investigation, and when I play it back, there's this voice that I did not hear, but it clearly, maybe it said my name, maybe it said, get out, anything like that. You cannot, but people are too quick to assume that, aha, see, you're a ghost. Well, the problem you've got is you don't know what you're communicating with. And this is why certain sects of Christianity are totally opposed to seances and talking to the dead and that sort of thing. You just don't know what you're communicating with. But we're quick to assume. I tell people all the time that, oh, you don't be talking to the dead. It's like, do you talk to Jesus? Well, you're talking to the dead. And he may have gone to heaven afterwards, but that's what you say is happening to everybody that dies. So how do you know that the entity you're talking to is good or bad when even your Bible says that Satan keeps presenting himself as an angel of light? So you do have to, do I really dig deep and hard enough to make sure that there's no other possible explanation for what occurred, that I know that shadow, nothing could have created that shadow, there was no ambient light, that movement over there, there's no reason for it, I couldn't find any reason, could not duplicate it, just absolutely no reason for it. So you get to that point, it's like there was something there. It took the shape of an old man, just the way it was hunched over, the kind of hat it had on or whatever made it look like it was from the 19th century. That, just because you have an interaction with some disembodied voice does not prove that that voice wasn't lying to you, wasn't misleading you. You see, we get conned all the time. I'm sure you've gotten phone calls like, this is the IRS, you don't respond within 24 hours, the arrest warrant, blah, 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 or this is Microsoft and you need to call this 800 number, your whatever, for your Windows, you know, all these con jobs take place from real humans. In your face, flesh and blood humans will lie to you and mislead you and con you and steal your money, you know, whatever. Some people do it, I guess, for the fun of it. If I can do it to you, if these other humans can mislead you and lie to you, you don't think that a spirit, disembodied voice, couldn't lie to you as well? This is what you've got to be aware of. You can't just assume, well, it feels good. How many times? And I've married in my career. I've married a lot of people. I gotta get this. Oh, okay, Rodney. You, I thought I did. Go ahead. Okay. Okay, I will let her know. Oh, thank you. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay, sorry, folks. That's something I had to edit out, too. All right. So this is kind of where I am with the whole thing. I think it's a fascinating thing. I think research should be done. I'm concerned about we make a lot of assumptions on the findings we get. Even those that seemingly are very credible. Something made that fly across the room that was genuinely a disembodied voice. There's a couple of people out there on YouTube, and I'm going to mention their names. They put themselves out in Huff Paranormal. I think the guy is Steve Huff. And, you know, I found it fascinating. So I watched some of his stuff. I read the comments. He's got like 1 million freaking subscribers to his channel. Very successful with what he does. Not envious of that success. But I watched his stuff. And I've got to tell you, if he's got that ability, he don't need to be on YouTube. At all. He needs to be somewhere else besides YouTube. He needs to be saving the world. It's just too much, and it's just, in my opinion, very ridiculous. And you know, he makes all these claims, and every time a well-known, a famous or person or a celebrity dies, so he's got all these people following, and people just eat this up. And I'm sure a lot of them just view it as entertainment, but a lot of them just reading is like, they just seem to really be wrapped up in this. Another one is, and very entertaining. It's like watching a TV show or whatever, little short 20-minute clips that they make, and they put a lot of effort into it. But it's just, you know, it's not real. It's just not real. And but people are hungry for this stuff. People are very hungry. What happens at death? Most people have lost somebody they love. They've got these questions. They're concerned about it. Some people are just fascinated with the subject. For various reasons, it's out there. So as you ponder these things and as you experiment with these things, I'm not even suggesting you'll get demon possessed. That's not where I'm going with this little talk. Where I'm going with this little talk is very simply that it can play with your emotions. And that is the dangerous thing, especially if you're dealing with grief. If you've lost a loved one. And like some of these psychics that do these gallery readings, pay close attention. Don't just grab a hold of what they seemed to have gotten right. If it makes you feel good and you're balanced with your thinking, that's one thing. You can actually hurt yourself financially or any other way, other ways, but emotionally, by just grabbing hold of something and not really recognizing what you're dealing with. And I share this with all the paranormal investigators out there, more so with them than the Bigfoot guys. In the world of Bigfoot, that's almost a little innocent thing compared to the paranormal world. You know, I don't want to mislead people at that level. I want to be genuine with you, and I've had experiences. Is there something we don't know? There's a lot we don't know. Don't get me wrong, there's so much we don't know. But don't just plug in those areas of ignorance with you know, just oh, I think it's this, I think it's that. That's where we're failing. We're not digging deeper. So something did happen. If I get into an area and something until I can come to some conclusion, if I can. I don't say, ooh, look at this, I got this on tape, listen to this EVP, isn't this awesome? Now let me go to the next place. No, if I got something there, I want to stay with that as much as I can and ride it through. If I've discovered that I'm having a communication with some entity out here that's a disembodied voice, something in a different realm, why do I want to just move on and just, okay, that was a neat adventure, let me go. I haven't discovered anything. There's all kind of stuff out there that make you believe that, look, there was something, it's caught on camera, a surveillance camera caught this. It's like, well, that's cool. Why don't we walk away from that and look for a new adventure? We haven't resolved this mystery yet. That mystery still remains. We're just suggesting that, oh, that was Aunt Sue that died here a violent death in 1912. So I'm suggesting that. Now I've taken things even a step further, and I'm not saying nobody's doing this, but I'm certainly saying that I haven't seen this. I haven't discovered anybody doing this. So I've got 3. And one of them I can live stream with, the other I just record with, but these are 360 cameras. So a lot of these videos, and I've suggested it, like to Omar Gosh, a guy, and I've suggested this, like something will happen just off camera, in the mode of falling or already rolling or whatever. It's never straight on. It's always coming past an open door. You got the whole view. You can look behind me, you can look at my feet, you can look at the ceiling, you can look all the way around. Because I'm not interested in just producing something for your entertainment value and trying to sell you a bill of goods that I can profit from. It's an interesting subject. I can have fun with it, but you're going to know when I'm having fun with it versus when I'm really trying to discover something. Abnormal Alabama, you get the tickets for February 9th at abnormalalabama.com. Just click on the convention link. I'll be presenting a lot of material. I've got other tools. I've got a remote control vehicle that's got a camera on it that we can go into areas. I didn't bring that out here. I just want to briefly go over these things. I'm going to emphasize again, if you are poor like me and you can't afford a regular big old thermal camera, bingo, this is not the tablet is mine, but this little device is the Seek Thermal for less than 200 bucks. The app is free and it's awesome. Stick with it, people. February the 9th, you get tickets online. 7 speakers lined up for that day. Subjects are paranormal and Bigfoot. It's going to be a great day. Take away from it what you will. Have fun with it. But it's going to be a great